Hello and welcome to the Echo Eternal Horizons Festival at Finham Park School. Welcome to day 5 of the Echo Eternal Horizons Festival. Welcome to our campaign day at Finham Park School. Our gifted survivor testimony is by Ruth David, and in Ruth David's name we pledge to share her testimony and bring to life her messages to the school, wider community and with partner schools. We will do this by exploring, engaging in creative ways to share Ruth David's story across the curriculum and the wider school community at Finham Park School. The Horizons Festival is running in 2021 from Thursday the 7th of January to Friday the 29th of January 2021. Be the light in the darkness is the Echo Eternal theme for this year. Just to introduce you to Ruth David through the illustrated images on the screen. To the left is Ruth and her mother in the 1930s, and to the right that's an excerpt image from the video of the survivor testimony recorded in 2015 with Ruth David. These are images taken from the film and also used in other films, recordings and creative work at Finham Park School over the last 2 years since February 2019. This is a word cloud created by one of the Year 9 students working with me in workshops over the last 2 days, and these are all really important words from Ruth's testimony and presented in the format of a world map. Absolutely fantastic creation. Many students at Finham Park School have identified with this statement. Ruth David said, "Education takes an incredibly long time." This is a hinge statement for the project from Ruth David's testimony, but be the light in the darkness is the core theme for Echo Eternal this year, and all the work we are producing or are going to produce is hinged and based on this statement. Finham Park School are launching an Echo Eternal website link this week, and that's gone live today, and that's been embedded through student and staff dashboards on the school system, and that links directly to the website, and on that website will be shared work and creative work, messages, films and documents that all go on there regarding our work over the last 18 months to 2 years. Also on the website and this week happening at Finham Park School is the launch of the Echo Eternal Inter-College project, where there's a whole school initiative for our students to be able to freely and creatively respond to Ruth David's testimony through mentor time work. So the launch of this project will be delivered by mentors to their mentees online, and students at Finham Park School from year 7, 8 and 9 and beyond up to year 10 and year 13, if they want to participate, are able to work as a mentor group to make verbal, visual and written responses to Ruth David's testimony. This is an excellent project that the whole school is involved in, and this is part of our pledge, and our work continues with Echo Eternal, and the whole idea is to widen the scope and the draw and also the awareness of this project to a greater audience across our community. So thank you very much. I'm going to take the questions open for the students, and I'm sure they're happy to come onto the screen. So for Mira and Ilahi, these are questions that have been posed to all the students. So I'm just going to read the question that's been posed in the first place, and then the girls, Mira and Ilahi, are going to share their outcomes to that. And they've all looked at each of the questions, but certainly as I go through them, we've nominated certain answers through the workshops over the last 2 days for them. So girls, they've been asked to explore the experiences and emotional impacts of the events of the Holocaust on our survivor, Ruth David, through her recorded testimony. So Mira.
Experiences and emotion impact many people who lived through the Holocaust. Ruth Davids, a survivor of the Holocaust, during her interview told us many of her experiences in detail. From both watching and reading segments of the testimony, realized how her experiences had changed and shaped her. She talks about how the period of history impacted her at a very young age. As Ruth tells us in her testimony, she is forced to flee home and move somewhere totally new and strange, where she was far away from family and normality. She had to deal with emotions at an age she shouldn't have to and stop her education, which was significantly important to her. Ruth had a childhood that was unique and difficult compared to many of ours, where hope was sought through letters, her lifelines. These experiences and events are told by Ruth in a way that portrays her emotions, as she tells us ways we can prevent these acts using courage, hope, and togetherness. Her main message was that from this impactful experience, we need to acknowledge that everyone is human and how we can learn by educating people about the experiences of people like Ruth Davis. This is when we learn that when times get tough, we need to find the light in the darkness.
Thank you so much, Mira. That's really poignant, and it's so good that you've studied and worked through the workshop over the last few days and weeks, and Mira has been involved in the program last year into this. Thank you so much, Mira. Elahi?
By being gifted the opportunity to read an individual's experience through the events of the Holocaust, I have gained sympathy and an in-depth understanding of the emotional impact this genocide had on a young child. Ruth David's story recounting her perspective of her childhood has helped me gain awareness of the Holocaust, rather than just reciting the facts. I have realized the injustice many face through the emotion expressed in this testimony. Ruth faced discrimination from a young age and was aware of the mistreatment Jews faced during that time. She mentioned that while she was aware of anti-Semitism, her parents never discussed anything of the such around the children. Therefore, she knew there were many questions she couldn't ask them. Her parents also sheltered Ruth from the conditions they lived in while sending her letters from French concentration camps. These lifelines gave Ruth hope amongst times of darkness. The testimony was able to identify glimpses of heartfelt moments Ruth can recall from her childhood. For example, many positive figures helped Ruth and her family along the way. Minna nurtured Ruth with kindness during her childhood and remained loyal to Ruth's family even after she was informed that she was not permitted to stay with them. Ruth described Minna as a very brave woman from coming from Mannheim against all rules to help the family. She also described her as wonderful and someone whom she worshipped and adored. Minna played a huge role in supporting Ruth and her family and was a courageous figure, especially in Ruth's eyes. When Ruth and Minna parted, Ruth struggled as Minna took care of her and impacted her life for the better. Another positive figure who helped Ruth and her family was the Baroness, who lived in their village at the time. Ruth stated she was kind to my family when we were in trouble. The Baroness also had courage by providing her family a basket of food when they were not permitted to go to the store. The acts of others stood out significantly in Ruth David's testimony, showing just how grateful Ruth was to her during seemingly hopeless times. This relates to the theme of being the light in the darkness. Hope, kindness, and courage of others had a huge impact on Ruth's life, and it seems as if these heartfelt moments stuck with her.
Thank you so much, Elahi. And Elahi was involved in the ensemble work last year and was working with Highly Sprung and was involved in big performances there on stage at the Symphony Hall last year for the 2020 Echo Eternal Horizons work and the festival there. So thank you for all your work. She was also involved in the art workshops like Mira was last year and also continuing in these workshops now, so absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much, Elahi and Mira. Over to Elise. Elise, the question posed was identify the types of actions that cause suffering, persecution, and genocide that are evident in Ruth David's shared experiences. Elise?
Before Ruth was taken away on the Kinder transport, the Jewish community were being dehumanized more and more within laws. They were isolated more with every law and forced to use things like different shops and different schools. They were segregated like this not only by the authorities but by the members of the general public, which shows the impact of the propaganda. After she was expelled from her school, they were often attacked with stones thrown at them. Even at this age, Ruth knew that she was Jewish and that was a bad thing to be at the time, but never from her parents. She knew that she was an outcast by the attitude that she was given by the rest of the community. She was aware that what was going on wasn't normal, but her parents were determined to protect her from the anti-Semitism. Whenever they would talk about a serious subject, they would send Ruth out the room, but she registered what was happening by the community's attitude towards her and through eavesdropping.
Thank you so much, Elise. That's to be asked that question and to come up with a straight answer from the testimony is really tough, because there's real harsh and difficult content there. So you've done really well in unpicking that and the actions that Ruth David, our survivor, was affected by. So thank you so much. On to the next question for Maria and Oliver. Maria first. So the question posed was, identify actions in the testimony that show moments of hope, kindness and courage. Over to Maria.
The testimony shows that throughout Ruth's experience, she always showed hope, kindness, and courage, even in the darkest of times. When she left her village and went on the train alone, arriving in Holland, she kept her hopes up, even when she was miles away from home. Moreover, the main thing that Ruth gave hope was the letters she received from her parents, because it showed that her parents were alive and well, and made her think that maybe one day they would pick her up, even when they never did. And when there wasn't as many letters when the war broke out, Ruth still had hope and courage with the few letters she had received. I think today's generation can take this information and learn from it to appreciate the small things like Ruth did with her letters, and also hold on to hope even in the most difficult and troubling times, as we can work together and bring light into the dark.
Thank you, Maria. Very good, very good. Really appreciate that. It's just confidently read as well. Well done. Oliver, over to you.
I have focused on Ruth's early childhood before being deported and the important relationship she had with her parents, and in particular Mina. Both her parents were strong-minded and selfless, people who wanted to shield their children from harm, and they trusted Mina to raise Ruth and look after her children, as she was too a courageous role model. Mina was working against the rules. She had put her life on the line because she respected the family. That is definitely courage, because she supported the family no matter the situation, even though it was not allowed. She continued to keep the family safe because she adored them so much. Mina made a massive impact on Ruth's childhood and happiness.
Thank you so much, Oliver. Absolutely fantastic. Well done. Very sensitively said. The next question, that was posed to all, and that Martha Flanagan will answer now, is, what messages does Ruth David want us to take forward as a result of sharing her experiences?
When watching and reading through Ruth's testimony, she stated that to her, education was the root cause of how we can move forward from difficult events, specifically in history, such as the Holocaust. Ruth, growing up, knew of the discrimination that surrounded her, but she also knew not to ask questions. It was once she found the answers to these difficult questions that she'd been searching for, that she could help others by telling her story. It was also by sharing her experiences that Ruth and the other volunteering survivors have given school children a new platform to learn from. The idea that we are watching one person being interviewed allows us to see the emotion behind her past. It can give a depth to the understanding that the exam board cannot. Ruth believed that education was key to seeing eye to eye with one another, and I believe that this is the message she would like us to take forward into the future.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Martha. Brilliantly said. Some great points there, and echoing through all the statements by the students this afternoon. Absolutely brilliant. So Martha Friesen, and Martha's going to give her statements and answers to this question. So what messages in the testimony can inspire and create a message that speaks to your generation?
I think that Ruth David's testimony is really important as it tells us a story of a brave girl in the war. I think that one of the messages of this testimony is that we are all in it together, and as she puts it, in one big lot. She also states how important education is and how it takes an incredibly long time. I think that these two things are incredibly relevant to our generation. I think that it applies to our generation as currently a lot of people don't think that education is important as it actually is. Also, her comment about being one big lot is important to our generation as we are faced with many challenges such as climate change, pollution, and so much more. We really need to stay together as one because to be able to tackle these problems, we must be able to keep together and take on them. I also think that her testimony and the message from it is really important to what is happening today because we need to learn that to beat the virus, we need to do it together and we can't do it without each other.
Absolutely, and well said, Martha. Great sentiments. Just to move on to a question, the next question, so sixth question. Open to everyone, but I know Mira and Elise want to answer. So if you were the interviewer and you were recording Ruth Davis' testimony, what would you have asked Ruth about her time and experiences if she was sat in front of you? So Mira.
I would ask Ruth what her relationship was like with her family and home.
And what sort of things what do you think she would have answered it with? How do you think she would have come back?
I think she said that she would have had a really strong bond that was really important between her family, as in the testimony she states that when she did have to leave, it really hit hard because they meant so much to her.
But that was the very thing that kept her going. So absolutely fantastic, Mira, thank you. So over to Elise.
I would ask her why she decided to stay in the UK, raise her children there.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And as time went by, so what do you imagine, even like as a younger person and deciding to stay in England, what do you think her answer would have been over time, Elise?
Well, I think after having her children, she probably would be more inclined to stay in the UK and settle there, because I feel like after having her children, she would have made more connections with people and it would have felt more like home. But I'm quite interested to know the initial reason why she decided to have her children there.
That would be a great question. Thank you, Elise. That's great. Just on my last three questions, and then after that, so obviously we were gifted Ruth's testimony in 2019, and we've been working with this, but it never before have we gone online and interviewed students amongst an audience. So thank you to all the audience for coming together this afternoon to listen to the students and their responses, their personal responses, because they've been reading, viewing, and going through keyword sets and going through different scenarios really within the testimony, which is about an hour and 44 minutes long. But the students have been tracking and looking at elements of the video and the film that was originally recorded from Ruth Davis' testimony, and looking at elements of the transcript, and looking at key associated questions related to the currency of the testimony within an educational setting and beyond. And it's just really exciting work to be involved in with the students. So thank you so much for being with us. Just to move on to the final three questions that I've got set questions, and then I'd like to open it up to one or two of you if you have any questions for the students involved in the Year 9 Finham Park School Year 9 students. So this is to Martha Flanagan. So why do you think it is so important for young people and students to have access to an archive of Holocaust testimonies in educational settings?
I believe it's quite important to have the videos of their testimonies, because when you're watching them in class, especially when I was watching Ruth, I realised that I listened more. It wasn't like reading a textbook that you're given by the school. You get the emotional side of her story, you get engrossed into it, and you learn a lot more from it, I'd say.
Okay, very good. I really like that answer. Well done, Martha. Really, really happy with that. Martha Friesen, I asked Martha, why do you think so many UK-based Holocaust survivors came forward to tell and record their testimonies in light of the fact that many survivors would have told no one about their experience in their lives up to that time?
So I think that one of the reasons that they might have felt like they should do this because they might not have got another chance to tell their story to the world in the way that they could here. And another reason could be that they came forward because it might be easier to tell a stranger than to tell a loved one, because they might want to protect their family from what happened. And a final reason could be that the environment of the interview was right and they would have had enough time in the interview to tell everything that they needed to say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Martha. That's great. So an open question to the Year 9 students, the last set one really, before I open it up to everybody else. And if you have any, please share with the students. It will encourage some open responses, and the students are confident about all questions that might be posed, so don't worry about that. How does Ruth's testimony symbolise and show that there is light to be found in the darkest of times?
I think that she shares a small heartfelt moments that she experienced in her childhood, despite the trouble she faced. For example, encouraged from positive figures in her life had a huge impact on Ruth, showing that light can be found in the darkest of times.
Do you just want to repeat the first bit for us, Ilahi? Because we missed that on some connection. Well, I did anyway. So just repeat that for me.
She shares small heartfelt moments that she experienced in her childhood, despite how hard it was most times.
Absolutely. I don't think I can add any more to that. I want the students to speak and give their honest answers as they designed them and as they worked with them and as they developed their answers. So I would just like to open any questions out to anybody else involved in the program, parents or teachers alike, or any other students. If you wanted to tap in a question on the chat, then please feel free and welcome to do that, and I can read those questions out. I think we'll go for another 2 or 3 minutes on that and see where we are at that stage. Okay, does anyone want to ask any questions? Hi, Mr. Bishop, thank you.
Hi, fabulous presentation. It's really some thoughtful and insightful responses, Year 9 students in this project. Is there one thing that you could highlight to us that your engagement in this project has changed you or your view of the world through being part of this testimony and this processes with the Echo Eternal project? So something that has changed the way that you see things from hearing Ruth's testimony and doing the pieces of work with Mr. Radford and the team.
Hopefully one of you are going to answer. So anyone wants to take that forward, we'll give you a bit of time to do that.
It's one of the things I've got.
So Elise?
I feel like seeing the emotional side of the testimony and being able to see her, because it's been videoed, like you can see her facial expressions and the way she reacts to the questions. I feel like just being able to see her emotions sheds a different light on the Holocaust, because it's not just we're not being told how to view it. We can make our own interpretations from the way she reacts to the questions. I think it's very important, the fact that, I think the idea that we can interpret it and we're not being told how to feel from a textbook. I think it's very important that we've got to do that.
That's very true, Elise. That's very, very wise. I mean, you know, we're talking a lot in education at the minute about what's the purpose of education as exams keep getting cancelled and things just move. Is it about just doing exams, or is it about changing people and making people's lives better? And when we went to see the production in Birmingham, just to be able to see students not just reading about history, like you've just said, but actually living and hearing those testimonies of history and how it should change us as people going forward. It's really an exciting opportunity, and it's great to see you engaged with it. Well done.
Well done, Elise. Is there anyone else that wants to add anything to that, students? So a really great question from Bishop there. Elahi?
I think it also kind of adds, it's more personal than learning stuff off a sheet, because we get to understand an individual story rather than like just general facts about the Holocaust.
Thank you, Elahi. That's fantastic, and I think absolutely totally true. Is there any other additions from the Year 9 students for that?
Yeah. I'd say to see the courage that Ruth showed by sharing her experience inspired a lot more people to come out and share their experiences. There are like 112 testimonies that were shared, and they're going to go on to help people in education.
Mm.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Mira, are you happy to share something?
Yeah.
Okay.
One reason I also really appreciate her testimony is that she wasn't like, she's not a famous figure from the Holocaust. She was just a young girl, and I feel like it's a lot more like you can just really see how it was for her as just a normal young like child that was experiencing it.
Great, and that's absolutely fantastic, because we know Ruth became a teacher in Leicestershire, got the Cross of Honour from Germany because of her work in education, and going to Germany a few times from 1957 onwards, particularly her home area. And she was even finding out that the impact of her father's life on the community was having even then, because he was the first person in the area to bring roads, electricity, and paying women, working women at the time. And she found out that some of the women in the area were still receiving pensions because of her father's presence within the community and importance within the community as a reasonably Orthodox Jewish family that weren't in Ruth's eyes particularly religious at all, and in a rural area of southern Black Forest, Germany, and to have the full impact of events. And for the students to hear that through Ruth David and her story and her time and her years dedicated to education, I think this testimony brings even more importance and power to her messages, and we're really proud to have been gifted that from Echo Eternal in the first place, and to be invited into the project through Mr. Bishop, through Miss O'Driscoll and Echo Eternal, and the origins of the project. So thank you very much. If there's, I would like to open out one or two more questions if possible. I wouldn't want to close it there, but if you have one or two more questions, please ask now, so everyone's had the opportunity.
Kathy O'Driscoll's asked a question in the chat, which says, what's the value of going through a creative process to engage with a survivor? Responding to the testimony through art.
That's aimed at the students, yeah? So Mira and Elahi, I think over time and over the history, the workshops have been based this time on questions and sharing information, sharing thoughts and sharing context of keywords. The work of the past has been involved in sort of deeper sort of artworks or art workshops, but time to come, there will be further workshops based on sort of artistic representation. But Alahi and Mira, would you want to share anything with Miss O'Driscoll for me, and from your memories of the past and working with the art workshops, as well as what you're doing now and your creative written or verbal or spoken word input?
I feel like it's another way of viewing, or like even like it's like an interpretation of the testimony. So you can make it really expressive or more more realistic. But I think when we were doing the pieces, it was really nice to plan and create ideas about what we were going to do, and then sharing it with the public in the cathedral. It was really nice to explain to people why we'd chosen to do some of the things and artworks.
So Alahi and Elise, I think you're as placed at the forefront as anyone, because you've gone through almost a full 18 months to 2 years of artistic experience within the project and working with different practitioners. So what are your thoughts to sort of Kathy's, Miss O'Driscoll's question, Elise, in terms of what you've taken from the project, and the arts have been at the forefront of the project from the beginning?
Well, I think the first physical theatre work we did was mainly based on the letters that Ruth sent and received, the lifelines, and I think that it obviously was quite a important part of the testimony, but it's not exactly what your mind would first run to when like watching it or reading it. So I think picking up on that brought like a different side of the testimony forward, and then being able to turn that into like theatre or physical theatre, and then showing it to an audience allowed them to understand the and learn from the testimony, but through movement rather than reading it.
That's great, Elise. Thank you so much. Alahi, can you widen that for us, for your work with the ensemble last time, and the current work you're doing with us now, and what kind of experiences that you get out of
it really it educated me. It really educated me, and it helped me learn more than I hadn't really learned about it that much before, but now I'm able to engage in it and understand it more. Yeah.
So Alahi and Elise were involved as an ensemble group that did at least, I think it was 8 to 9 rehearsals in Fosel in workshops with Heidi Sprung, and they worked with 5 other schools. So there was 6 Coventry schools involved in that last year, and representatives from a number of those schools, and we were really proud of the work that you did there on centre stage within the Horizons Festival last year as well, girls. So I think the ongoing work, I think, speaks for itself, that it offers a massive range of interpretation. So that's perfect, Elise. Thank you for your answers there. Any further questions from anyone, please? Please be welcome. Have we any suggestions? So that's from Claire Marshall, and Claire Marshall is kind of like the creative lead to the project. I'm hoping that's open to the students. I'm sure I can answer it. But where would we go next with the testimony? Well, I'll answer it in part, and then I'm hoping 1 or 2 of the students can help. Now, over the next few months, we're going to be getting lots of submissions from students on a general wider population within the school, within the pastoral element and the mentor groups. So that focus is particularly on year 7, 8 and 9 and the youngsters, and then year 10 up to year 13 who've been invited. So far it's been a lot about anywhere between year 8 and year 13, unless youngsters were involved in past. and now a lot more of the year 7s and year 8s and year 9s coming through. There'll be opportunities for the older years in the future as well, but I'm hoping that the outcomes that are coming from the mentor groups will be able to be turned into artworks that can be cited within the school, and the website work can be any future performances or any future work can be shared on a much bigger scale within those social or media sort of outlets and presentations. So the idea of this year was to get that work moving heavily, and I anticipate that further creative work will be coming. Almost watch this space, because so many diverse things have happened so far, and really it'll be about bringing the students together to decide what that's going to be. That's not me dismissing any answers that I might have right now, because that's what the project, a lot of the project has become about that so far, no matter how far the work has gone with the writer in residence or performers or artists. So anyone we've been in connection with, the students have led this forward. So the students will be able to share with us, and I will offer the facility and hopefully other staff over time for those ideas to develop even further and even stronger over the next few weeks and months to come, off the back of the great work that's going on over the next few weeks and today. Okay, guys, do any of you have any ideas about how you would want this to look within Finham Park School, and how you'd want to see this played out over the next few months with creative work or responses to the testimony, and ideas that you might have that would be fantastic for Finham Park students and this project in general?
I think it would be quite interesting to do some like artwork, or maybe like a group piece or something, based on the theme and the testimony that is given to us.
Brilliant. I'm going to certainly be using your work today and this afternoon, and I'm going to write up elements of it, so it's like what a good one looks like for the staff to come over the next 5 to 6 weeks on their mentor project. So this is really going to support other staff, support students, and students to support each other on this project, and take a lead from some of your work, guys. So it's massively appreciated, your afternoon, and all the guests here this afternoon as well. Thank you so much. Miss O'Driscoll, would you like to say anything? Doesn't matter if you don't.
Just a really quick thank you on behalf of Echo Eternal, Core Education Trust Echo Eternal, for your inspiring words this afternoon and answers and presentation about the survivor. But I want to leave it to you. But thank you ever so much, and thank you for all your efforts.
And thank you, Miss O'Driscoll, and thank you so much for everyone coming into the audience this afternoon. Thank you so much to Southern College, to the teaching staff, and to the senior leadership staff. Thank you very much, and thank you to the parents and all the students in Year 9. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.